and harmful.
Everywhere it is mentioned safety first, and it is not in just in
So this is the
something which is
garbage.
written all over the place. You have to take it in the right spirit, and
Yes,
it has to be taken up
yes.
seriously. From the day you join the ship till the day you sign off on the ship,
I'm emphasizing
there's not a single moment which you will
okay.
take care without being absolutely
This is also
safe.
very, very
There's only
important.
one way of doing a work, which is the safe way.
That you are also
Understand?
main thing is to make
Yes,
you
sir.
aware of these
Yeah.
things. Okay. So that is idea behind it.
See, the idea of getting hurt like
And
this
so that you can answer when you are paying for the class 4, you'll be able to answer
is
very well.
something
Because
which is not
everything just,
acceptable.
like it will be format there.
For you also, for your family also, you're doing a work to get back to your family, earn your money, and make a living. Getting injured like
That will be
this
in the management level.
is
But,
not
when class 4 is
something
there in the format, all
which
objective type questions. Just take
we
one.
expect to happen, and we will provide you, the company will provide you with all necessary knowledge,
But
training,
then,
and equipment to ensure
important is your orders.
that
They will ask all the details.
such incidences don't
That
happen.
is why I'm going on elaboration.
They are very
That is why
simple
I'm
things which
just
needs to be
emphasizing
followed,
question
and that
answers.
is what has to be followed.
Okay, because written is very, very easy. Online, just anyone.
Just to give you some
But the orals
examples,
is, it's a
2 engine crew died when there was an explosion in the drum whilst they were cutting it with a power tool.
Yes, that is the main idea.
This is a common event which keeps on happening. You use the drums for different purposes, lube oil drums and all that. But
Okay, then.
a routine operation done without any safety precautions can lead to
This is the oil
such a
must
event.
do.
Okay?
Okay, all these things are there.
What is missing out here, guys?
Then there must more
Sir,
than.
PP, sir, safety gloves, sir, glasses, helmet, PP.
Very good. So basically, basic PPE is missing out. Secondly, it doesn't have not done a risk assessment. If we had done a risk assessment, most likely this drum was previously having some flammable material, which because of the sparks has created an explosion which led to the 2 people dying. So it may seem very simple. Very often you will second engineer will tell some crew member, "Is drum ko kaat ke taiyar karo. We will use it for some other purpose." But you all should know that a risk assessment has to be done by yourself. This does not require a formal risk assessment or formal permit to work. But you as an individual know that everywhere a risk assessment needs to be done in such a way that we understand all the hazards and risks involved in that particular job, and then precautions are taken. This should not have happened. This happens on a regular basis on the ship. This happens every now and then that this job is being done. But to have 2 people die because of this is unheard of. But this has happened. So, common things. Someone working on a ladder drops a tool, lands on someone else's head, and injury happens. Your actions have made others liable for an injury. Not acceptable. Is this the way of to work? And that also he's putting a poster for Safety Week. Look where he's standing. Well, I'm sure you must have seen something like this ashore. Such kind of shortcuts or jugaad. But this is not acceptable on the ship. It is not acceptable anywhere, but we are got zero tolerance on such kind of a. Only thing, who will get a ladder, where to get a ladder. So, can you lift me up? And this is what happens.
Now we talked about
little bit of rolling and pitching, that guy comes down and creates an incident.
They talk about this. You just go back to this.
So you have to know your ship well, especially related to safety. Of course, muster station, very, very important, which I have told, which will also, we'll dwell in other topics also. On top of that, you should know where is the nearest extinguisher in your cabin, whether it is a foam type, powder type, what is the use, how to use it.
These are the, well, where you found
Most
what
extinguishers are color
These are
coded.
particulars of that.
Most extinguishers are
Okay.
color coded. What is the color code for extinguishers?
These regulations are divided into these many
Yeah, like
topics.
like that. We
What
have
is the color
chapters
code for
and regulations numbers, like 1, 2, 3.
fire extinguishers? Any idea?
12 to 17, 18 to 36, 37 is chipboard is SOPEC.
GME boys, do you know the color coding of
Somehow
extinguishers?
they ask also, what is the full form of SOPEC? So, what is SOPEC? Tell me someone, what is SOPEC?
Shipboard Oil Pollution Emergency Plan.
Yeah,
No one knows the color coding?
chipboard, oil pollution emergency plan.
Red is water type, which is very rarely used. Blue is,
Sir, blue is dry powder.
yeah, so that is the color code.
Yellow.
Yellow is foam
For no, sir. Chemical
and black is CO2. Black is,
CO2. Black is CO2, sir.
yes, so this you should know. So these are small things which will help you become a more safety conscious person.
No, you can read. I think it is visible now.
Location of fire hoses near your cabin. Every deck has got fire hose box near your cabin, inside and outside the accommodation. Familiarize yourself with the escape routes. Whenever there is some kind of untoward incidents, fire, you have to take the escape route which is marked, which is a very common thing ashore also, in the sense that movie halls, malls and all have got these escape routes marked, and you have to follow those routes so that it's the nearest and the fastest way of leaving that location, whether it's your cabin or the smoke room or the galley or whatever may be the case, to outside place. So you must know what is the emergency escape, especially in the engine room. There's a specific emergency escape which you should know about, which is the fastest means of coming out in such a way that you are outside the engine room.
Because that area
You should not consider the possibility of escaping through porthole. Porthole में नहीं जाने का, because you may land on deck. You may think break the glass and jump. You may land up on the deck
So you can see this.
20-30 meters below on an iron deck or on a railing or maybe overboard. Any of these things are possible. So you should know your ship related. Of course, in due course of time, you have to know everything on the ship. But from the safety point, prioritize where is your PPE, where is your extinguisher, where is your fire hose, where is your emergency escape. So safety is something which has to be followed from your mind. Everything is provided to you. You have to use it, and you have to know how to use it. So equipment will not do something on their own. You will have to use the equipment. You should know the location of your PPE. Should familiarize your vessel ventilation system of your cabin in case there's a fire. You should be aware of the pollution related duties. And also today, garbage management is very, very important. So you should know about the garbage management also. Okay? Understood this part? What all you should know immediately?
See, all the details are given.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now repeat it again. Listen, what to
So,
do?
muster
Outside the
station,
special area, what can you do?
alternate muster
See,
station,
Just go through.
PPE, your duties on the muster list.
Yes,
The ship.
All this is extremely important from the
Do
safety
if
point
you're
of view.
outside area, it should be in group. It should not be in
So
group.
there's generally a familiarization which is done when you join the ship. It will be done by a senior person on the ship, or maybe third officer. What is your company policy? Depending on what kind of a familiarization, it's general familiarization is done by a second officer or third officer or third engineer, fourth engineer. But on-job training is also there. But as far as safety is concerned, you have to be familiarized. Someone will do it for you, and you'll have to sign that you know all these things. Muster list, what are the signals, what are the muster stations, where's the life-saving equipment, and where's the major firefighting equipment. All this should be done in the part of familiarization.
here's only one more extra
These are the escape routes symbols. These are called the IMO symbols. Anything to do with life saving is green in color. Anything to do with firefighting is blue in color. Sorry, firefighting is red in color.
Any ship shall be.
Any of the symbols blue in color, that means it is a mandatory to use before you enter that compartment. So all your PPEs are blue in color with the
So
signal.
you should be very, very thought about this. That is
So,
why I am emphasizing.
This symbols, IMO symbols, you should know. IMO symbols, you should know. Is that
Cargo
okay?
and extent regulations chapter. Okay.
All this is
Discharge
given.
of oil from the cargo area oil.
If you see a symbol, you should find out what is it for rather than just take it for granted. Most of them are self-explanatory. Most of them are self-explanatory. Okay.
Yes.
So the first module of safety is symbolization. Any questions on that?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Correct.
Any questions?
So very correct. Now you can see the outside special areas. The tanker is not within a special area. Okay. The tanker is more than 15 nautical miles from the nearest land. That is
Any questions from anyone?
The tanker proceeding en route.
GME guys, anything?
Sunniest rate
No,
of
sir.
the oil content does not
No, sir.
exceed 3 liters per nautical miles. That is also very important.
Okay.
And the
Fine.
total quantity of the oil discharged into the sea does not exceed 1 by 30th, no, 30,000 of the total quantity of the particular cargo. So these, no, you should note it down very, very clearly.
Yes, sir. This particular thing is only applicable to the oil tankers. Yes, sir.
Yes.
All the so this 15 nautical miles thing is applicable to machine.
No. It is for this one, the tankers.
This only. Yes.
Okay, right. So tanker is, because we are talking of discharge of the oil from the cargo area,
Yes, sir.
of the oil tankers, of oil tankers. Yes, so that is why the tanker is not within the special area. No, outside the special area, you can do all these things, okay? And the
Yes,
tanker is
So I'll show you one basic
more than 50 nautical miles from the nearest land.
basic safety requirements, personal
Tanker is
safety, basic
proceeding
safety.
through. That means it is already, it's not stagnant, it is moving. And the instant rate of discharge of the oil content does not exceed 30 liters per nautical miles. The total quantity of the oil discharged into the sea does not exceed 30,000 of the particular cargo. Got it?
Yes, sir. So the 15 ppm parameter is also applicable here. No, sir.
Yes, that is there, that is all there, okay?
Yes, sir.
So this is it. Because more than 15 ppm you cannot discharge anywhere, whether it is special areas or anywhere.
Yes, sir. Yes.
That you can only give it to the shore reception or reception facilities. So okay, in the special area, any discharge into the sea of the oil or the oily mixture from the cargo area of the oil tanker is prohibited. There will be nothing can be done.
Yes, sir. We have to restore it and give it to the port company.
In special area, yes, we cannot do anything. Okay, so that was it. Now let us talk about discharge of the oil at sea. Now special areas. All discharge is prohibited unless certain criteria are satisfied. We are talking about discharge of the oil at sea. All ship types, masonry spaces, bilges, oily water from the bilges, sludge, waste residue from the filtration of the oil. Ship must be en route. Oily mixture must be processed to the oil filtering equipment. Oil content of the mixture does not exceed 15 parts per million, and oil mixture is not mixed with cargo residue. Right?
Yes, sir. If you mix with cargo, so you have to eat the oil tanker, then we are
Yeah.
breaking the law.
Yes, that is true. Now let us see. All discharge of the oil prohibited unless there is certain this thing. Cargo is now we're talking the cargo spaces. Earlier was the machinery spaces.
Yes, sir.
Same thing, whatever we talked about. So oil must have been into oil tankers must more than 15 nautical miles nearest line, does not exceed 30 liters per nautical mile, and discharge to the oily discharge monitoring equipment only. Maximum discharge quantity of the ballast voice should not exceed 1/30. So it is repetition of what is on, and ship is not in special sea area. So all these things should be clearly, like
Just take a moment to get the right
Say it is clear, sir.
video.
clear. Okay, nice. Now we're talking about the oil requirements. Now, this is reception facility.
So this is part of the familiarization which is done on initial stages, though it may not be for a tanker, but it's on a similar fundamentals.
Represent a growing sector of the maritime industry. As the tonnage of super yachts increases, so does their passenger carrying capacity. So when you work on a super yacht, safety is at the very core of your professionalism. It's a major part of the pride you take in being part of a closely knit team and working in a very special environment. This disc is part of a series of programs for super yachts, which looks at all the different ways you can improve your own safety and the safety of the people around you. Not just the people you work with, but the yacht owner, their guests, and anyone else on board. You should have already done your basic safety training on shore to STCW standards. What we'll be covering is safety familiarization once you're on board.
So familiarization is very vital.
Every super yacht is different.
Anywhere you go, any type of ship you go, you may be joining the same ship.
Although the design and equipment
You may be joining the same ship over and over again, but that doesn't mean you are not familiarized. The familiarization will go on every time you join the ship.
used may be different from what you see in this video. The principles of onboard safety remain the same. The next chapter covers what you need to know immediately you're on board. After that, we cover what you need to know in the first 48 hours. If your job means you need to get involved in operations such as using a crane or launching a tender, then you need to look at those chapters in one of the other programs in this series, Super Yacht Safe Working Practices. But first we start with the first stage of familiarization training, something all new crew must be given when coming aboard.
This is related to your master list.
Every crew member, whether experienced or not, must have safety familiarization training. If there's an emergency, at the very least, you need to know what to do and where to go. Even
So,
if you're not a member
emergency-
of the actual crew, but you're working on board,
Emergency familiarization is the first thing which you will have on board, which will tell you specific to your ship,
Go through this.
what are the LSA FFA equipment, where is the master list, what are the emergency escapes. All those basic things which you should know immediately should be told to you. Okay?
So you can see this, like every tanker, 150 gross tonnage shall be provided with
chapters in one of the other programs. Here, your next. Every crew member, whether experienced or not, must have safety familiarization training. If there's an emergency, at the very least, you need to know what to do and where to go. Even if you're not a member of the actual crew, but you're working on board, perhaps as a nanny or a masseur, you still need this safety induction training. And even if you've worked on this yacht before, if you've been away for more than 2 months, then you need to do this training again. You're responsible for knowing exactly where your life jacket is, and for knowing how to put it on in an emergency.
It's located under your bunk. Under here.
So life jackets are kept at various locations in your cabin. Remember, it will be in your cabin. Generally, maybe on the bed, or it may be in a locker above your cupboard. But you must know where it is kept. It's very important you know where it is kept. Okay.
You might need to find it in low lighting or in smoke.
Right arm, left arm, and that's over your head. Click.
Make sure you understand the instructions for putting it on.
So we've got a whistle for attracting attention. And the main thing to remember here is if we do have to jump into the water, then you're going to want to put your arms across the front to stop that from riding up.
And you need to know where to find your smoke hood and how to put it on. More details will be in the super yacht safety training manual. Also, in or near your cabin, there's a fire extinguisher. Make sure you know exactly where it's kept. Fire extinguishers come in different types, depending on the type of fire. The cabin extinguisher will usually be a dry powder type. Check the instructions on the extinguisher to see which type it is, and how and where it should be used. All super yachts will be fitted with smoke alarms, which will indicate the source of the fire on the fire control panel in the bridge and often the engine room.
And when the alarms go off anywhere around the boat, it will alarm here and say where it's gone off. And we can then see on this plan what number head has gone off. Say it's 85, and then we know exactly where it is, in which cabin, and we can do a PA announcement to inform the fire party.
If you discover a fire, raise the alarm immediately, giving the location and some basic information about the type of fire. Press the nearest fire alarm button to set off the alarm and shout "fire" loudly. And use the nearest suitable fire extinguisher, bearing in mind your own personal safety. You need to know the different types of alarm signals, which vary depending on the emergency. For a fire, the fire alarm will sound continuously. And you may also hear the yacht's horn blowing instantly. If you hear just the horn, 3 short blasts, and then 1 long blast, that means there's a man overboard. If you hear 7 or more short blasts of the horn, and then a long blast, that's an emergency alarm.
See, this is all standards in all ships. Whether it's a yacht or a VLCC or a bulk carrier or a car carrier, everywhere you have a muster list.
Which also has your muster stations and duties. You need to know where to find the muster list. If you hear anything, you need to go to the emergency muster station. The muster station is where you gather so the captain or another officer can take a head count and check everyone is safe.
Everyone quiet, listening.
For most super yachts, it's the aft deck.
Johnny?
Yep.
Chisco?
Yep.
Anna? Yep.
You need to know how to get there, which, in an emergency, might not be as simple as you think. Your emergency escape route will be on the safety plan in the crew mess. The route will have emergency lighting. Make sure it's always kept clear. If there's smoke, you may have to exit on your hands and knees. And you may need to find an alternative route to get to the muster station. It's a good idea to practice the route a few times, so you can literally do it with your eyes closed. That way, you'll also be calmer if there's an emergency. If you can stay calm yourself, that's the best way to keep others calm. Once you get to the muster station, wait to be told what to do.
Okay, Johnny and Anna, you go start the side regulations, the band recording.
Remember, you need to consider other people's safety as well as your own. Alcohol can affect your performance on board. Make sure you know the yacht's policy on drugs and alcohol as soon as you join. Fatigue is also dangerous, so each crew member must be aware of the rules concerning hours of work and rest. So that's the first part of your safety induction, and you now have just 48 hours to complete the next stage.
So these 48 hours and all is as per the company policy. There are certain things which you should do immediately and certain things which are on-job training, which you have to complete while you are doing your regular job.
That means for yourself and for those around you.
So please.
Every yacht will have a plan showing the location of all the life-saving appliances.
This is life-saving and firefighting LSFFA plan, which is displayed
By the end of your
in
first
every
2
deck.
days, you need to have studied the plan and located everything.
Fire extinguishers are located on the plan. On each deck, you'll see again.
Please.
You also need to have a good look at the safety training manual, since that's the first step in knowing how to use the equipment properly. And there are plenty of other things you need to know as well. Let's start with the safety signs and symbols. It's best practice to display as much signage as possible, but on a super yacht, the safety signs are generally kept as discreet as possible. And sometimes you have to look hard to find them. There'll be a list of what the symbols mean in the safety training manual, or on larger yachts, in the documentation for the safety management system. Remember that in an emergency, you might be looking for these in the dark, or in bad weather. That means it can be very important to memorize the location of equipment such as fire extinguishers. And also memorize escape routes, not just for yourself, but for other crew and for guests as well. Primary and secondary escape routes are shown on the safety plan and vary from yacht to yacht. Larger yachts may well have separate escape routes for crew and guests, and it is essential that all crew are aware of all of them. You may well be ordered to guide evacuation from unfamiliar parts of the vessel, and you will be responsible for the safety and security of those following your directions. The next thing to understand are the different types of doors on board. Fire doors are internal doors, designed to inhibit the spread of fire. They're the ones that are usually spring-loaded, so they close automatically. They must never be propped open or blocked. Sometimes they close automatically when the fire alarm sounds. Make sure you know which doors are fire doors.
This is an automatic fire door which gets triggered when the fire alarm goes off.
So even on the merchant ships, you have certain doors,
By pressing the button here.
especially doors entering into every accommodation deck for the purpose of isolation. If the fire alarm is activated, these doors automatically shut. These doors, fire doors automatically shut so that you can isolate that deck. So these door closers will automatically get activated and the door will shut.
Here, the door shuts.
Weathertight doors are just
One more thing I want to tell you, in case there's a fire, never use the lift. Of course, that is a norm when you are in buildings also. But even on the ships, if you have any kind of emergency, use the staircase. Avoid using the lift.
designed to keep water and spray from entering the yacht. Watertight doors are more robust internal and external doors with watertight seals, which may be clamped shut. Some will slide shut, and you need to be aware that they may move unexpectedly. You need to stand well clear when they are opening or closing, and you need to know where the controls are to open them.
So what we'll do now is I'll get you to close the door by pressing this red button here. There will be an alarm sound. Okay? Then you keep the
It's very, very great,
Super yachts carry a range of life-saving appliances, and it's important you're familiar with all of them. You'll already know from the location plan where the life jackets are kept, as well as the immersion suits and smoke hoods. There may be spare life jackets on the bridge, and probably other places as well. For example, on escape routes. It's important to know where children's life jackets are located, usually in the guest accommodation, as you may find yourself responsible for the younger passengers.
Child life jacket.
Auto-inflating life jackets, most often used when you're working over
Not there
the
mostly
side
on
of the
merchant
yacht
ships.
or in the
Maybe in
tankers.
passenger ships it is there, but not on merchant ships.
Life rings
Mostly
also
we
come in
have
various types. Some have a floating line.
non-inflatable type of
Some
rigid
have a light
life
unit
jackets.
attached. which is activated when the life ring hits the water and lasts for 2 hours. Some also have a smoke unit with the light, which is also activated by water. It has a delayed action, and the smoke then lasts for 15 minutes. This is a good point to go through what you should do immediately if you see someone fall overboard. The most important thing is to raise the alarm. You need to shout, "Man overboard!" Then throw them a life ring. You can throw them one with a light and smoking, but the most important thing is speed.
Bridge, man overboard, starboard side.
Tell the bridge as quickly as possible by any means you can.
Copy, understood. Man overboard, starboard side.
Keep your eyes fixed on the person in the water and point towards them. Do that for as long as possible. If you take your eyes off them, you may not see them when you look back. The captain will sound the man overboard signal and post other lookouts to keep the person in sight and help in the search. If you're at sea, the yacht will turn around to retrieve them. They'll be recovered by the man overboard recovery system, which is usually the rescue boat carried by the yacht. If you're at sea and someone on board can't be found on the yacht, they may be in the water. So if someone goes missing, you need to report that to the bridge immediately. This may result in the conclusion that there has been an unwitnessed man overboard, and the search and rescue effort starts straight away. There are more details in the International Aviation and Maritime Search and Rescue Book, IAMSAR, which it's recommended should be on board. If the yacht itself gets into trouble, it has an emergency position indicating radio beacon, or EPIRB. The beacon sends a signal giving its position. Modern EPIRBs are combined in one unit with search and rescue transponders, or SARs.
This we will do in detail in PST, but in the familiarization, you will be shown where it is kept and how to use it.
Along with a signaling lamp and battery pack. Rocket signals to highlight your position, and a line thrower to pass a line to the shore or a rescue vessel. Finally, there are life rafts. Each one is fitted with a hydrostatic release. If they're submerged at a depth of 4 meters, they're released automatically and will float free. All of the accommodation for guests and crew, as well as the engine room, have fire and smoke detectors. They're linked to a fire alarm panel. There'll be one on the bridge and another in the crew mess. When the fire alarm goes off, it may tell you the location of the suspected fire. On the bridge, there's a sprinkler control panel. And the engine room
So
and the galley have
the firefighting systems from every ship will be different, and you'll be familiarized with it.
The fire
So this
has hoses and hydrants
familiarization
around the yacht.
goes on for quite some time, but the basic familiarization should be done before you sail out.
There will also be emergency escape breathing devices, EBDs, which will be shown by the safety officer. And there may also be smoke hoods. The EBDs have compressed air, which lasts for a minimum of 10 minutes, and are designed to be pulled on easily and quickly, without any complicated adjustments. These are only for escape, not for rescue or firefighting. Make sure you're familiar with the instructions for putting them on.
The thing to check with these is to make sure that it's in the green before putting it on. And then it's following the signs here. It goes over your head, and then you pull.
By the end of 48 hours, you should be made aware of security issues. On larger yachts, the ISPS code stipulates the measures needed to manage security. ISPS stands for the International Ship and Port Facility Security Code. Vessels and ports normally operate at security level 1. You'll have some specific security policies as well. For example, security cameras to monitor gangways when you're in port, controlling access to the yacht, and keeping the visitor's logbook up to date.
Here we can manipulate these cameras. We've got a zoom in function here.
Fourth one.
Make sure you know and understand the yacht security procedures.
IO. This full form
You'll
of
be
that
briefed
IO.
on these by the ship's security officer.
And road line also.
There's one more vital aspect which you should be aware of: environmental protection. You need to understand the obligations that exist to prevent pollution that are imposed by an international convention known as
That is
MARPOL.
also one of the conventions.
Under one annex to the MARPOL
So I
Convention,
think you know what is
the
convention.
disposal of waste and garbage is
So
controlled.
that's about MARPOL,
It's
which
illegal to dispose of most
is a
waste
part of
and
the
garbage.
familiarization about garbage management.
Never dispose of plastic into the water.
Enforced by any code of law, any country.
The
So
yacht
there
will
has
have
to
a
be
waste management
an
plan
legislation
with detailed procedures for collecting, storing,
that
processing,
has to pass by
and
the
disposing
bill,
of
and then they
garbage.
become act.
Senior crew will
So
advise you on what to
1958,
do
I
and
think
when
I'm talking
and
about
how to
Constitution
separate
Act. No,
waste.
not so.
There's certain things which we don't throw over the side between 3 or 12 nautical miles offshore. So you need to study this plan.
Okay. So
In your first 2 days on
Act,
board,
1958,
there are
I
many
think you are
safety
aware of.
issues to understand. Things
So
to
there is
do over the
difference
next few
between
days
your
include
conventions
getting a
and
better
act.
understanding of the captain's and the
Because
chief
once it is
engineer's
act,
standing
then
orders.
it can be, like you can be punished. by
And if you're on a yacht which has a documented safety management system, or SMS,
right?
get to grips with the relevant parts
That
of
is
it.
different between conventions.
Make
are
sure you
always
know who's responsible for
international in
safety,
nature, because we are the
medical
member
care,
of IMO,
and
so we
security,
have to follow
and
that.
who represents the crew on a yacht safety committee.
You cannot
Basic
regulate
first
unless
aid
you
is
have
something
act.
that you've covered in your onshore basic safety training.
Okay. So that
One
is
of the
fine.
first
That is-
things to do
then
on
the
board
role of
is to make sure you know where the medical and first aid equipment is kept.
Up here is
Yes.
medical locker. In here we have the stretcher and the rest of the medical equipment just around the corner there as well.
That is true.
In other programs in this series, we look at drills, where you practice how to deal with an
I think
emergency.
time is up.
And we look at the working practices you need to use to stay safe while you're on board.
Any queries? Any queries, please? For her?
Further details and information are to be found in the accompanying workbook.
So we continue further. So I'm taking a leave now. Please allow me to leave.
Okay, so that takes care of this module on the first module on safety as far as the PSSR is concerned, safe working practices, familiarization. Any questions if you have? Take attendance again. And let's see who all are still there.
TNOC 65, 67, 67, 68,
Present.
69,
Present.
70,
Present.
67 present.
73,
Present.
74,
Present.
75, 76, 76,
Present.
77,
Present.
78, 79,
78.
80,
Present.
80,
80%.
Gemini
Present.
14,
19%.
21,
Content present.
22,
22 present.
23 present, sir. 25. What about 25?
25%. 25%.
31,
31%.
30,
33%.
sir, all present in GME, sir.
Okay, thank you. If the GME guys can All can be present for all classes. I don't see why TNOC has got so many guys with so much such loose excuses in today's times. Absolutely, you should compare yourself, not deserving to join this bloody course. The people who are taking this as an excuse. And you guys should be just, certificate should be withheld till you behave yourself. Anyway, we'll see you in the next class. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.